Discuss the closure of the Grafton Academy Language School. Minister McHugh, the Minister for Education, is here. You're welcome. So, you going first, Deputy Ellis?
Yeah.
So
Thanks very much. Minister, the unexpected and sudden liquidation of Grafton College, which has left more than 20 members of the teaching staff in a scandalous situation, without a job, uncertain about their future, with no wages, and as we approach the Christmas period, it's shameful. Students are left bewildered and worried about being able to finish their course for which they have paid substantial fees. 400 students will have to wait until next month before they can continue their courses. While this is welcome, it is still very disruptive and worrying for the students. Unfortunately, this is not the first time this has happened. Between 2014 and 2015, close to 24 language schools were closed suddenly. The sudden closure of such schools without regard for the staff clearly illustrates the nature of precarious employment and the lack of regulation of this sector. The lack of protection for staff of such colleges in a sector that has proved to be highly profitable is unacceptable. Staff are treated as expendable resources. The Qualification and Quality Assurance Bill, which is before the Shannon today, is a vital piece of legislation that would give greater security and protection to both staff and students. I would encourage Shannon to support amendments to the bill which go to strengthen protections of employment in this sector. We need this bill to be passed as quickly as possible so that the exploitation of teachers in colleges such as Grafton College can end. Minister, they have requested that you intervene in this debacle. Well, I'm wondering, will you go and meet them? That's one of the requests they've made. As you know, this is the wrong time of the year that such a thing should happen, coming up to Christmas and being suddenly hit with this. It's a shameful situation.
Thank you very much, Deputy.
I would like to thank the deputies for raising this matter. I do regret that this situation has arisen for the students and staff of Grafton College, and certainly the time of year gives added significance in terms of entering the mouth of Christmas. It is important to note at the outset that the majority of English language schools in Ireland are privately run. The relationship between teachers and private providers of education is based on a private contract, and issues relating to working conditions, including payment of wages, are a matter between the two parties and do not come under the remit of the Department of Education and Skills. That being said, though, the request, I know there's been a public request and you've requested here today. I'd be happy to meet a delegation, and what I can try to do this evening is do a bit of rejigging of my timetable, and if they're in the House today, I'll be happy to meet a delegation in my office. So we'll stay in touch in that regard. But I am conscious of expectations as well, and that's why I want to put on record the role that I have. But certainly, from a human point of view, it's something that I would like to do. Grafton College Quality and Qualifications of Ireland, QQI, is closely monitoring the situation arising from the Grafton College closure and is engaging with all relevant stakeholders to ensure that the closure will be as orderly as possible. Grafton College is a member of MEI, Marketing English in Ireland, an association of English language schools. I understand the students from Grafton College will be able to complete their studies in another MEI member school. Employees affected by the closure of a business may be entitled to apply through the liquidator to the insolvency payment scheme, which is administered by the Department of Employment Affairs and Social Protection, and I have spoken to my colleague Minister Regina Doherty in this regard. The Minister for Higher Education, Mary Mitchell O'Connor TD, is currently progressing legislation through the Oireachtas, which is intended to substantially strengthen regulation and quality in the English language education sector. The QQI Qualifications of Quality Insurance Education Training Amendment Bill is scheduled for committee stage in the Shannon today, with the today, the 5th of December. The new bill will establish the International Education Mark and a Learner Protection Fund. The IEM is a core component of the Government's policy for the English language sector. Only those providers who meet the robust quality assurance procedures of Quality and Qualifications Ireland will be allowed to carry the mark and recruit international students. The IEM will provide learners or potential learners with the necessary confidence that providers with the IEM have been quality assured by QQI. Upon enactment, the bill will also empower QQI to establish a learner protection fund, which will be resourced by an annual charge from those providers covered by it. The fund will be used to teach out a programme in the event that a provider fails to provide a programme. Should this not be possible, the fund will be used to reimburse students for the most recent fees that have been paid. The bill also contains provision to provide QQI with additional statutory powers to examine the bona fides of a provider. Providers will have to satisfy QQI in relation to issues such as the legal personality, ownership and corporate governance arrangements, in addition to ensuring that adequate financial resources are in place to ensure the viability of these businesses. This will mean that only providers that satisfy QQI in these areas will have their quality assurance procedures approved by QQI, be eligible for the International Education Mark and recruit international students. These measures will mitigate against the prospect of further college closures in the future. The issue of employment rights for English teachers has also been raised in the context of the Qualifications and Quality Assurance Bill, and I understand that Mary Mitchell O'Connor will be responding to issues raised by senators during committee stage of that bill this afternoon. And with regard to amendments, Minister O'Connor will be taking those through, and like any bill going through, they will be subject to the Minister's decisions as it goes through, and there's a number of amendments. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, Deputy, you have a minute each. Deputy Ellis, 1 minute. Deputy Boyd-Barrett, 1 minute.
Thanks very much, Minister. I'm glad to hear that you will meet with the teachers and have a word with them and find out what their feelings are. But it's obviously there needs to be some form of oversight, and obviously the bill that's going through is going to help us in that area. But you know, we have to stop this from happening in the future. This is not the first time now. We've had several ones in the last couple of years where colleges have been closed down, and closed down at short notice. And I'm sure there's reputational damage done in terms of our image as seen, you know, in other countries, because we're dealing with overseas students here. So there has to be reputational damage done. And I think it's incumbent on us all that we sort this out and we don't let this repeat. I do think that help is needed for the teachers, whether it's from the social protection or some form of compensation to tie them over to Christmas. You did say that there is a fund there, but I do think that they need to be addressed over this period, because everyone knows that this is one of the worst times of the year to be caught in a situation like this. No matter what time it is, no matter when it happens, it's a horrible thing to happen to anyone, but particularly at this time of the year when there are huge expectations and people have families and friends and children to deal with.
Thank you very much, Deputy.